everyone to Unpack This. Greetings. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys so much for being here. I am your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, the Authentic Coach. And before we jump in, let me just ask you something. When did suffering become proof of loyalty? Just think about that. When does suffering become proof of loyalty? When does staying through disrespect become a badge of honor? And who told you that being a ride or die meant you had to lose yourself just to prove you're real? I ask that because today we are going to unpack a lie that too many women have been living by. And it sounds good on the surface, ladies, but it will cost you your peace, your identity, and sometimes your entire life. So again, welcome to Unpack This. As I said, I'm Gloria Bailey Ray, the Authentic Coach. And this is not just another episode. This is the beginning of season 2. And season 2 is titled The Unlearning. Last season, we talked about the awakening, the moment you realize you've outgrown people, places, and patterns. But this season, we're doing something different. We're going to break the beliefs you were taught to hold on to. And you know what? And that's even when they were breaking you, those beliefs, right? And I would say today's belief that whole ride or die, get ready, because we must be honest. Ride or die, it sounds powerful, it sounds loyal, it sounds committed, it sounds like love. But let me tell you the truth. For many women, ride or die has quietly become stay no matter what, accept what you shouldn't, endure what you don't deserve. Let that sit with you for a moment. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped asking, is this healthy? And you started asking, how much can I tolerate? And that part right there, that's the shift that breaks you. So for a moment, go with me and allow me to just kind of talk about how this belief is formed. You know, that whole ride or die loyalty. See, this didn't come out of nowhere. This belief, it was learned. Some of you learned it growing up, watching women stay when they should have left, watching loyalty be praised even when it came with pain. Some of you learned it through culture or being down for someone meant proving yourself. And that's even if it cost you yourself. Whew. And some of you learned it through survival. Because walking away was never modeled as an option. So you told yourself, this is just what love looks like. Mm-mm. No, it's not. You told yourself this is what conditioning looks like. But with that being said, we talk about the dangerous distortions, because here's where it gets dangerous. And just go with me for a moment. Because ride or die doesn't just keep you in unhealthy relationships, it convinces you somehow that suffering is required. So now you're excusing behavior like disrespect, inconsistency, emotional neglect. How about betrayal? And calling it all loyalty. Really? Really? Is that what it is? So let me say this clearly. Loyalty does not require you to abandon yourself. Loyalty does not require you to abandon yourself. And here's why. Listen to this. Listen, ladies. If you have to shrink, if you have to silence yourself, or if you have to suffer in order to stay, that is not loyalty. Let me put a name to it. That is self-abandonment. So, going with this shift, I want to talk about the one-sided ride or die. So, let's talk about the part that nobody wants to admit. Some of you are the ride or die for someone, right? Some of you, you know who you are. You are the ride or die for someone. And that someone only sees you as convenient. And and okay, so this is why I say this. They call you when they need you, right? They lean on you when they're struggling. And you know what? They expect you to show up. But when it's time to stand beside you, you can hear crickets, silence, or worse, there could be distance. I know it's I've heard my bishop say, I know it's tight, but it's right. See, they don't celebrate you publicly. Any of you relate to that? But they praise you privately. And you have been calling that loyalty. Come on now. Come on. No, I call that imbalance. It's imbalance. That's being used in the name of connection. And that's why so many of you, I write that book, you got to get up from the table. You have to recognize you may have been invited, but the table was not yours, right? Let me talk to you about poison loyalty. I want to go a little bit deeper with that. Because sometimes your ride or die, they're not protecting you, they're controlling you. Mm. And you say, okay, how's that? Let's do something simple. Go really, basic. They don't like someone. Now you don't like them. They're upset with someone. Now you're carrying that same energy too, right? They start planting seeds. And those seeds that they plant are like the subtle comments, the side remarks, or how about opinions disguised as concern? And before you know it, before you know it, you are looking at people differently. Not because of your experience with that person. Please hear this clearly. But because of theirs, that so-called person that you were to ride or die from. Wake up. Ladies, wake up. I have to tell you, you get caught up in that. That's not loyalty. That's influence. And how do I say this? And sometimes that influence is toxic. Why do I say that? Because a real ride or die does not isolate you, right? And I know some of you can relate to that. People who have fallen out of favor with someone because of something that had nothing to do with you. But if they don't like them, you're not supposed to like them, right? You know, you're a real ride or die. Like I said, they don't isolate you. They don't divide you. And they don't poison your perspective, right? And there's a cost that comes with that. If you get caught up in it, right? And when we talk about the cost of that, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, there's always a cost. And what are some of those? First of all, you lose relationships that never had an issue with you. Never, right? You end up missing opportunities. And why that is because you're tied to somebody else's emotions. That table is not yours, right? And you damage your own judgment. Why do I say that? Because you stop trusting yourself. Let that sit with you for a second, right? You basically, you just stop trusting who you are. And if I were to say, what's the hardest truth? The hardest truth is this. Check this. You don't even realize it's happening. Why? Because you think you're being loyal. I tell you. So, again, why I wanted to talk about this whole myth of ride or die loyalty. Part of this is exactly why I wrote my book, When to Get Up from the Table, when love is not being served. Keep in mind the metaphors. And I wrote it because some of you are sitting at tables where loyalty is one-sided. You know I'm telling the truth. It's tight, but it's right. Some of you are still sitting at tables where loyalty is one-sided, where respect is optional. And here's the thing, and where your presence is expected. What? Come on now. But guess what? Even with all of that, your worth is not recognized. So instead of getting up from that table, what do? You stay. You stay because you've convinced yourself this is what it means to to ride. No, not at all. Not at all. Why do I say that? Because there comes a moment when staying is no longer loyalty, right? It's self-betrayal. That's what it comes down to. Self-betrayal. Think about that. And so you're probably saying, well, what does real loyalty look like? Well, I'm just going to say this. Let's look at what real loyalty looks like. Let's redefine this. Let's again, continue to unpack this, because loyalty, real loyalty, notice the word real loyalty, doesn't look like suffering. It looks like mutual respect, accountability. Here's a word for you: honesty. How about growth? A real ride or die will check you when you're wrong. Hey, if you're streaming live with me, place your comment in the comment section, But a real ride or die will check you when you're wrong, right? They will support you without controlling you. That's real. They will stand with you. And get this, they will stand with you, not stand in front of you and block your view. That's a word. That's simply real, right? And most importantly, they don't require you to lose yourself to keep them. And so many of you are doing that. How many of you? Be honest. If that hit you right there, just type ouch. Type ouch. A real ride or die. When we talk about loyalty, they don't require you to lose yourself just to keep them, right? So here's the unlearning part. Here's where the work begins. This is the unlearning. You have to ask yourself, where have I confused loyalty with tolerance? Where have I stayed because I didn't want to seem disloyal? You guys relate to that? And here's the piece. And I can relate to this. Ask yourself, where have I allowed someone else's voice to override my own? Come on now. I know I'm talking to someone. That's right. Where have I allowed someone else's voice to override my own? That's when I decided I need to get up from some tables. I need to, and in some cases, I had to flip the damn table over because you reach a point and you recognize, you know what? Hey, this is not for me. And you want to know the hardest part? You know, what the hardest question may be? Who am I being a ride or die for? Ask yourself that. Who? Right? And when you ask yourself, who am I being the ride or die for? Here's the other part to that. Would they do the same for me? I know some of you already know the answers. You know, just type in a comment. No way. I've been there, done that. Whatever. Let me know. But would they do the same for you? Just sit with that for a moment. Sit with that. And just ask yourself these questions. I told you, it's one of those where um, when we're unpacking things, it's going to bring up some stuff. And this is why, you know, unpack this. This is what we're about. But guess what? I'm going to shift into empowerment because the truth is, you don't need to prove your loyalty by enduring pain. You hear me? You don't need to prove your loyalty by enduring pain. Yes, give me a shout out, a thumbs up for that. See, you prove your growth when you choose yourself. You prove by setting boundaries. That's part of growth. And guess what? Another piece of that growth is by walking away. When something, hear me when I say this, when something no longer aligns with you. And some of you will sit and stay and ruminate about it. You will talk about it, but talk without action means nothing. This is how you empower yourself, right? And let me just say this. In some cases, that might mean losing people. That's the way of the world. So what? But I want to just tell you something. Everyone you lose is not a loss. Oh, you're not hearing me when I say that. Everyone you lose is not a loss. Sit with that. You know, hey, give me an amen on that one. Because that's when you really find out who people are. And some of it is a release, right? You have been freed. You've been, hey, let loose. You have empowered yourself, right? So I want to say this to you. If this hit you today, if it hit you today, if you felt seen, if you felt challenged, or in a lot of cases, even uncomfortable. What am I trying to say here? Good. I say good because that means that something is shifting. Think just for a moment. If you're in that space right now, and the spaces where you're questioning what you've been holding on to, then I need you to take the next step. Take the next step. My book, When to Get Up from the Table When Love Is Not Being Served, was written for this exact moment. And why do I say this? Because knowing is one thing, but choosing differently, that's where your life changes. And ladies, this is what it's about. This is your awakening. We're in season 2, all right? This, that part right there, it's time to make some changes. And it starts with you. So today, we unpacked the myth of ride or die loyalty. And I'm going to say to you, if you're feeling this shift, I need you to trust it. Trust it. You're not losing yourself. What's happening is you're finding your boundaries. And I'm going to ask you to remember this. Please remember this. Authenticity isn't just who you are. It's how you choose. And sometimes choosing yourself means getting up from the table. So until this time, next week, I'll see you next episode. But until then, I need you to keep unpacking. I need you to keep believing. I need you to know who you are and what you are about, right? I am the Authentic Coach. And again, thank you for being here. Be sure and like, follow, share. Hey, you can download episodes. Remember, I am on like the top 12, 15 podcast platforms. So share it. Share it with someone that you feel needs to hear this message. Again, I'm Gloria Bailey Ray. I'm known as the Authentic Coach. And I hope to see you this time next week. Be well. God bless.